The quathra had dominated the galactic hunting grounds for thousands of years, towering at nearly 3 meters with razor-sharp claws and predatory instincts refined by evolution. They were top predators who regarded most species as either food or rivals. Zark was just like the rest, an experienced hunter known far and wide throughout 17 star systems. He was following a wounded Volari through the thick jungle canopy of Kepler 442b when he heard it, a noise that caused his delicate ears to quiver in bewilderment. It was sharp, steady, and entirely unlike anything in his vast collection of prey noises. Leaving his pursuit behind, Zark trailed the sound through the dense foliage. What he discovered challenged everything he thought he knew about the universe. A tiny being, no bigger than a nari pop, rested next to the remnants of what seemed to be an escape pod. The skin was a pale pink, nearly translucent, and it lacked any visible natural weapons, such as claws, fangs, or armor plating. Strangely, water dripped from its optical organs, while it emitted those peculiar rhythmic sounds. Zark's instinct to hunt should have activated right away. This was evidently a vulnerable, unprotected being, simple to capture. Still, there was something that restrained him. Maybe it was a sense of wonder, or perhaps it was the way the small creature gazed up at him, lacking the fear he was used to observing in prey animals. The being emitted various sounds now, gentler ones, and reached out its small limb toward him. Zark's translator implant had a hard time with the rudimentary language, but eventually managed to convey meaning. Assistance needed, please. Despite all his instincts screaming at him, Zark found himself gently lifting the tiny creature. It was nearly weightless, and its surface was remarkably delicate. How did such a delicate species manage to survive long enough to achieve space travel? The escape pod's databanks unveiled the origins of the creature. Earth, a tiny planet in a rather ordinary system. The beings referred to themselves as humans, and this specific individual was identified as a child named Emma, merely 7 years of age. Her family's research vessel was assaulted by pirates, and her parents had launched her in the escape pod just before the ship was destroyed. Zark encountered a challenging situation. His people lacked any understanding of nurturing the young of another species. In Quathra, society eradicated weakness rather than shielding it. As he observed the human child, Emma, snuggling against his armored chest for warmth, a profound change occurred in his perspective. He chose to bring her to the closest space station, Nexus Prime, where undoubtedly someone would be able to look after her appropriately. The expedition lasted 3 typical days, during which Zark discovered concepts that questioned all he understood about survival and evolution. Even with her seemingly delicate nature, Emma showed incredible resilience. She picked up basic Quathra words with impressive speed, managed to operate the ship's food dispensers, and most surprisingly, displayed no fear of him at all. Upon arriving at Nexus Prime, Zark anticipated that he would just deliver the child and continue with his hunting profession. Instead, he remained nearby while different alien officials handled Emma's situation. She grasped his clawed hand tightly, and he recognized with a sense of unease that he had grown fond of the little human. At that moment, Captain Sarah Chen made her entrance. Zark had come across numerous species during his journeys, but he had never witnessed a transformation quite like the one that took place when Captain Chen, evidently another human, discovered Emma's predicament. The woman's eyes, once filled with gratitude and relief, transformed into a gaze that even Zark's predatory instincts couldn't ignore. "Where are the pirates that took her family's lives?" Captain Chen inquired, her voice laced with an edge that Zark identified as a thinly veiled threat. The station administrator, a typical Zepyrian bureaucrat, waved off the matter with a dismissive gesture. "The raider group known as the Crimson Nebula. They function in the Outer Rim. No action can be taken. They're too well armed and coordinated." "I wasn't inquiring if something could be done," Captain Chen interjected. "I inquired about their location." In the hours that followed, Zark observed with great interest as additional humans made their entrance. It was not the officials or authorities, but rather civilian merchants, explorers, and colonists who had learned about Emma through their communication networks. They arrived with provisions, offering shelter, and most notably, volunteering for the initiative that Captain Chen was coordinating. "We are setting our sights on the Crimson Nebula," she declared to the gathering crowd of humans, "not out of revenge, not in pursuit of justice, but because no child should ever experience the profound loneliness that Emma felt." Zark anticipated maybe around 12 volunteers. In just 6 hours, more than 200 individuals came together to support the cause. Vessels started to come in, cargo ships quickly armed for battle, exploration crafts filled with eager volunteers unaccustomed to warfare, and even opulent yachts whose proprietors had sold off their possessions to acquire military-grade defenses. "This is insanity," Zark remarked to Captain Chen as they observed the makeshift fleet gather. "Your people will face annihilation." Captain Chen smiled, and Zark finally understood why other species murmured about humans in the shadowy recesses of the galaxy. "You rescued one of our own," she stated plainly. "Now you will witness the outcome when humans reciprocate." The conflict, when it arrived, contradicted every strategic rule Zark understood. The human fleet ought to have been annihilated in mere minutes. Rather, they battled with a synchronized urgency that approached the otherworldly. Vessels that ought to have withdrawn advanced. Their attacks continued until their structures gave way. Pilots who ought to have ejected remained at their controls to make sure their last shots were effective. But it wasn't the strategic genius or the selflessness that took Zark by surprise. The instant the flagship of the Crimson Nebula started its broadcast, "Terms of surrender." Captain Chen's reply resonated through every channel. "Giving up is not an option. You took the lives of a human child's family. Today you discover the reasons why individuals protect their own." As the final pirate ship faded into darkness, Zark finally grasped the significance of what he had seen. Humans were not merely another species fighting to endure in a harsh galaxy. They represented a threat far greater, a group that had turned love into a weapon. As Emma embraced his leg during the victory celebration, tears of joy rather than fear flowing down her cheeks, Zark understood that rescuing her had imparted the most important lesson of his life. In a cosmos teeming with predators, the most fearsome beings were those who chose to protect instead of pursue, and he now knew that humanity were the ultimate protectors.